Epistle to the Keeper of the Imperial Archives, Rome. Dear Sir, I am in reluctant receipt of your insufferable scroll, written, I must remark, on papyrus of so inferior a quality that I can only suppose it to have been selected especially to suit the style of your grammatical construction and the insolence of your tone. I must ask you, therefore, to attribute the fact that I now apply styrus to tablet in response, rather than inserting your impertinences into my incineratorian as they deserve, not to any old-world courtesy on my part, but to the irritating circumstance that your communication is merely the latest in a dreary series of querulous queries, and I now wish to stem this nuisance at its source, before my desk becomes quite buried beneath a pile of junk mail, all of it bearing your indecipherable signature. You speak, confound you, of breach of contract, and have the further temerity to threaten the invocation of penalty clauses, if I do not at once submit for your inspection those chapters of my annals which cover the Great Fire of Rome, and the last few years of Nero Caesar's reign, described so aptly by my colleague Suetonius as the Terror. Now I must make it quite clear to you that I, Tacitus, am not accustomed to being thus pestered and berated by jumped-up Iagos in office, who are apparently incapable of recognizing a hot property when they read one. For must I remind you that those sections of the book already completed have received extremely favorable advance notices from all discerning critics, and already there is talk of its dramatization by Juvenal as the centerpiece of next year's Festival of Roman Arts, Culture and Blood Sports at the Circus Maximus. However, since you have the infernal bad taste to speak of the possibility of your withholding not only the final down payment, but the royalties themselves, it seems that I have no alternative but to explain the set of somewhat bizarre circumstances which have persuaded me to retain the remainder of the work, at least until I have completed further research as to the authenticity of certain documents which have only recently come into my possession, and which would, if genuine, necessitate not only the postponement of publication, but the rewriting of history itself. I will not detain an incompetent dunderhead like your good self with a detailed account of how I acquired these extraordinary papers, which I now enclose for your attention. Suffice it to say that my field workers are constantly abroad about my business, and it is not for me to inquire too closely into the methods they employ in the collection of such information. But the new facts herein revealed would, if true, explain a great deal which has previously puzzled me, and I am therefore tempted to believe them. You'll remember from your, no doubt laborious perusal of my last manuscript, that it contains references to a series of prodigies and portents which heralded the year of the Great Fire. Also, unearthly noises were heard in the vicinity of the Assisium, and it is my cautious submission that, for these, the enclosed exclusives may well furnish an explanation. Indeed, we would then have no choice but to believe that, during this doom-encumbered year, Rome was visited by intruders from another time, space, or similar unwelcome dimension, and that the possibly comet-like vehicle in which they travelled was known to them as the TARDIS. I can only suggest that you reserve judgment until you have read the items in question, at which time it will be my dubious pleasure to receive your inept comments upon them. For the moment, I will only remind you that there are more things in Olympus and Earth that are dreamed of by an urban district employee of lowly grade and status, and remain, with marked lack of respect, your best-selling author of this or any other year, Tacitus. Postscriptum. I have arranged these documents in what I assume to be their chronological order. You will be sensible to share this assumption.